Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrei Brânzea, and I'm the partner of Industrial and Land in Cushman & Wakefield, and I will be your host today. It's a great pleasure for me to be here together with our speakers and my panel colleagues, Dragana Krstic, Sânziana Pardan, Frederic Lamy, and Pijus Makarevicius. I will start by letting each and every one of our panel colleagues to present and introduce themselves. We will start with Dragana, please.
Hello to everyone. Thank you, Andrei, for the lovely event. Well, my name is Dragana. As Andrei already said, I'm the general manager of Kvantum Sport. We are the official distributors of the Under Armour brand, as you can see. The logo is present everywhere, yeah, self-marketing yay. We're the official distributors for the Balkans, and I'm in charge for the three countries, Romania, Bulgaria, and Croatia. I've joined the team in February this year. However, I've been in the sporting industry for the last 7 years. Therefore, this whole retail, sporting goods, and online channels are very familiar to me. So I'm looking forward to today's discussions and questions that we're going to receive. Thank you.
Sânziana.
Good morning, Andrei. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's definitely a pleasure to be here along my distinguished co-panelists. I'm Sânziana Pardan, Managing Director of P3 Logistic Parks Romania. P3 Logistic Parks is a large investor, developer, and owner of logistics and industrial warehousing across Europe. We own more than 6.5 million square meters of warehousing across Europe, and we also have a strong presence in the Romanian market with one of the largest industrial and logistic parks in Romania, P3 Bucharest A1, with over 380,000 square meters of leasable area.
Super. Mr. Lamy.
Thank you, Andrei. Good morning to you all. Thank you for the invitation to this conference. My name is Frederic Lamy. I'm the CEO of Leroy Merlin Romania since nearly 7 years now. In the group ADO since 13 years. Very pleased to join you. Quick words about our company. We are a 10 years old company created in 2009 and with the first opening in 2011. We distribute throughout Romania through a big network of stores of 19 stores open right now, products and services for home improvement for all Romanian customers. I've been in Romania since 7 years. Our company is a 3,000 people company. We have 19 locations, big stores of big boxes, let's say, of roughly around 10,000, 12,000 square meters, which are located in all the big cities of Romania. And we achieved last year, to give you a rough idea, a turnover of 2.5 billion RONs. And this year, we will speak after a bit later. We have a huge growth and we continue to keep growing fastly on that market, which is a passionate market and for which we have many things to say regarding the topics you want to evoke today. So thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Pijus, last but not least.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Really nice to join you here. I am CEO and founder of Furniture One. We are an online retailer who is basically mostly working in Eastern and Central Europe. And we are really relatively new to the Romanian market, and we are working there under Mobilier One brand. And why I think our cases might be interesting here for all the people who are watching the conference is that we have our own last mile delivery, and we work slightly different as other regular online retailers. So I think we'll speak about this more today. Yeah, so nice to be here.
Great. We will debate today a few hot topics about what makes or breaks the customer journey, what makes it tick from first mile and building the strong needed partnerships with your suppliers down to the last mile when the product has to be delivered to your customer's door. We're tackling the e-commerce topic because it's a booming business, and we strongly feel that it will be the principal driver for the retail market in the next years to come. I just read something the other day that right now in Romania, according to a study made by Pijus, the e-commerce market in 2020 was almost 7 million euros. It's very interesting because 2 years ago I was reading something quite similar, and they said that 2 years ago they were saying that the e-commerce market will reach 6 billion euros in 2025. And this is some news that was 2 years ago. Okay, we didn't have the pandemic, and the pandemic actually changed the market share of e-commerce in the total retail business. And it has, I think, a lot of potential for growth, as only 23% of Romanians right now are buying online, and we can expect the market share, I think, to become maybe 30% in the total retail market. Regardless of our day-to-day job, I think that we are all consumers, and we all order things online. We have positive experiences, negative experiences. And I think it's very important to survey and to analyze for our day-to-day business how the needs of the customers and expectations are being met. So we're going to start by defining the customer experience and comparing the brick and mortar with online retail. So this is actually a question that I will start with Dragana. How can you define the customer experience, and how do you compare it in your own view to brick and mortar and online retail?
Well, I believe that the customer experience in brick and mortar and online are completely different. Meaning brick and mortar, after all, you have a personalized approach in the sense that you can react on the spot for your customers' needs and everything that they need. There's a personal touch that you can create on the spot through your employees and offer the support they need. While in online, you need to know beforehand what the customer will be looking at and use technology and different tools to actually personalize their experience, because each and every customer shopping online has a different pattern. Of course, there are tools that help us follow these patterns and react to them, sometimes faster, other times it takes just a bit more time. Nevertheless, I believe that online is a faster business in regards of preparation rather than reacting to what is happening. Because when you have a large online business, you cannot react on the spot. You have to get very used to using technology and different tools to assist you. Therefore, I think that for a classical brick and mortar retail business is a very demanding thing to just switch to online. Therefore, the omni-channel approach maybe could be the best solution that we have today. Even though pandemics did hit us pretty strong, and let's say customers' approach and needs changed, and also there were some behavioral changes that we can see. I think that based on each and every one of us, I think we still did not reach that level where the brick and mortar is dying out, especially in these markets. I'm just focused on the local and the regional thing that is happening. So therefore, customer experience needs to be updated a little bit, adapted. But I think that this shift changed even before the pandemic started, especially in Romania, which is a country that is very online, let's say, oriented. And even though you said the numbers are not very, and the statistics are not very high, if I may use this word, they're still much better. And the Romanian market is much more developed, the online market, compared to other regional markets that at least I'm familiar with.
Thank you. I'm going to continue with Sanziana. Sanziana, as a customer, how are you defining your experience? How do you see your daily acquisitions and shopping experience comparing brick and mortar with online retail?
Andrei, for me, customer experience, or let's say excellent customer experience, means delivering on the promises. And this is a general concept. It doesn't apply to just online or brick and mortar. It's what companies need to do to be successful. It's the fundamentals of every business. My team know that this is, and you can ask them, this is an obsessively dear concept to me, excellent customer experience. And as I mentioned, delivering on your promises means to get what you want, when you want it, and in the quantity, quality. What this means most processes behind whatever you're doing. And in this case, we're talking about online retail. So you need excellent processes behind, excellent supply chain to ensure that this promise happens, that whatever the customer order is actually delivered in the right way at the right time. I would want to add another aspect to what excellent customer experience could look like. You mentioned in your slide that 53% of customers actually changed or didn't go back to the same retailer because of a bad experience or because someone provided a better experience. I think this element of bad experience and how you manage that is essential to how you are perceived in the market. To this, exactly as that slide was mentioning, customer retention. As I said, on the one hand, you have processes and you want these to be very strong in order to deliver in the vast majority of time what you promised. But there are inevitable moments where things don't go as planned. And the way you react to those moments, to those instances, is essential in making or breaking your image. A bad experience can push the customer away, but if you react well to it, if you provide the customer with a personalized customer service, very easy return service, a very easy replacement service, if they feel that their, let's say, complaint was well covered, then you have the chance of turning that customer actually into a more, let's say, a better customer of yours, a more long-term customer of yours. So also, again, in my business, in our warehousing, asset management, I always stress on that. The way we react to customers' requests, to customers' issues, is what will make or break our relationship.
So actually what you are saying in straight line is that it's not the price that matters, it's the whole customer experience. If you have a product at a better price than the other, but the delivery experience or the general experience is, let's say, wrong, this actually might lead you to divert your attention to another seller. Another quick question on my side. How does a warehouse help the e-commerce business to deliver an excellent customer experience today?
Mm-hmm. Well, what clients want from e-commerce is choice, is reliability, is very fast delivery. And at least on the two ends, on choice and reliability, warehousing is essential. If you want to provide your customers with a wide range of product, with enough choice from your websites to be able to actually buy everything that they want in that particular, let's say, segment solely from you, you need variety, and you need variety in stock, variety that is available. So you need to have these products stored somewhere. And these are the fulfillment, the large fulfillment centers that is probably one of the drivers of the big increase in warehousing stock throughout Europe that we have been seeing in the last 2 years. But this is only one side of the story, is the large fulfillment centers. Then you go to the other end, timing. How do you deliver fast enough to growing expectations, basically, of the customers? And this is where last mile logistics or urban logistics comes into play, where with the warehousing that is close enough to the customer, we as developers can help our clients, the retailers or the logisticians or the delivery companies, to achieve their promise better, to actually deliver that product on time.
Super. I'm going to pass on to Frederic. How is your shopping experience in the last I don't know 2 years, comparing brick and mortar and online? How do you see it?
Very good question. As I said in introduction, our company is only 10 years old, and our top first priority, because we arrived very late on that market of bricolage, of DIY in 2011, we focused at the very beginning to develop our offline business. So developing physical stores throughout Romania. In 2018, we decided to move to an omni-channel transformation. We started by publishing products on our site, but we were not selling them. And end of 2019, we were well inspired. We didn't know, I promised, that COVID would come. We started to do sales online, providing to our customers some click and collect rezerva și ridica solution for them. And of course, 2020 was a real explosion of that business. We accelerated a lot. In February and March, we installed an e-commerce solution for our customers. And fortunately, we had to close our store. The business was difficult, and the home products industry was booming at that moment. And we were very lucky to have this transformation on site. So we are very new in this omni-channel journey. We are progressing. We are learning every day. We are not perfect, but as Cynthiana was saying before, I think that the key factor of success for a good and successful omni-channel strategy is that you have to say to your customers what you are going to do, to fix a promise, whatever it is. But after that, you have to do what you said before, because otherwise you create frustration, you create disappointment. And if you don't respect the promise that you have fixed, I mean, if, for example, you say, okay, for our goods, we deliver you in 48 hours or 72 hours. If you overpass this deadline, actually, in the mindset of the customers, you are nearly dead. That's why I'm not surprised by the figures that you were showing before. The customers online are like early adopters. They go to a site. If they are not happy by the customer journey or their experience, they switch to the competitors, they switch to other platforms, etc., etc. So you have to be very consistent between what your promise is and what you are doing in reality. And the second challenge for our retailer segments, but I'm speaking about DIY, but I think it's the same for other industries in retail, for food or for furniture, for clothes, etc., etc. You have to be totally consistent between what you show on online business and what you show in your stores. And this is a very big challenge. I can tell you by experience, in our company, the main challenge for this omni-channel transformation was not the technical part, putting some IT tools, putting a motor of engine, etc., etc. The biggest challenge was, and it's still ongoing for this, the level of appropriation of our teams of the change that the omnichannel would generate for them in all the jobs in the store. And this is a very, very big challenge. An omnichannel strategy is not a caprice from a CEO or from the board of directors. It's a reality which has to be very concrete, very pragmatic, and which has to be transmitted in terms of purpose for all the teams. And this is a very tricky part in this aspect. Otherwise, it's very fun. We are learning every day. It's progressing every day. The level of transaction is increasing a lot. Our site is knowing a lot of traffic, and it's growing every day. And the thing is that all the time we have in mind to keep this experience in a good way, in a simple way. We don't need to sophisticate the site. The site can be simple, but can be efficient, and this is what we try to do every day. I can tell you that in our industry, the market share of the online business will grow. And what we observe in our group is that in the Western European countries, it's above now 10% of the total business, which is a tremendous trend. So we don't have any choice. We have to go for it. We have to take our time, respecting the promises, and also integrating all our people in that transformation journey.
A great answer from Mr. Lamy. I would just like to add something. I totally agree with what you said earlier, and I want to share a little bit of a story in which why I think that your business, your online, it's very difficult to implement. For example, I had some guys working on my apartment 2 months ago, I think, and I needed a type of screws for rigids, and I tried to look online, but I had to go into a store and to go to a consultant and to show the product and to ask him to lead me to it, because it's very difficult, for example, to buy small pieces of product online. You cannot estimate the sizes, but on the other hand, you can buy large products and have it delivered to your doorstep. I mean, you can buy concrete, you can buy all sorts of wood products, things that are very difficult to carry by car. And I think that this is the winning point actually for the online business and do it yourself. The fact that it's very difficult to rent a car, to go to a do-it-yourself store, to carry the products, to put them in the car. I mean, it's time-consuming, and I really think that in the next period of time we're going to see a boom in online orders and do-it-yourself stores, because it's far more simple.
If you allow me just one thing, we are observing different situations actually in our customers, and it's a big change since 1 year. More and more customers who are used to go to our stores are preparing their purchases online. And sometimes other customers who go to our store don't buy in store, but buy online after. So there is a reciprocity link between online and offline that we have to cope with. That's why I was speaking about the consistency, because in the two channels, because if you, for example, you show, I don't know, a level of stock for a product on your site, and if the customer goes to the store and sees that the stock is not here, it's a drama. It's a big, big, big drama. Yeah. So we, for example, in Leroy Merlin, what we are trying to do, we launched a project internally about accuracy of stocks. It's not easy. We have all the problems as retailers. We know what we have in stock, but generally the stocks references by references is not so accurate. And we launched all this project, and believe me, it makes the difference, because as Tiziana was speaking before, availability is a key factor of success. We were speaking about prices. Prices on the Romanian market is a key factor of success, but availability on shelf is very key. And the customer, now the level of expectation of the customers is very, very high, and they don't have the patience, which is a bit normal actually. They don't have the patience to say, okay, I will wait for this product, or no, they switch and they quit your brand as long as you can't cope with their expectation. So tricky aspect.
Well, going forward to Pijus. Pijus, what's your customer experience in day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think especially last year has bring like a really big change in both in customer habits, purchasing habits, and both in their expectations. And we've seen it like across all the European markets that we are working in. And I totally agree to Piers and to Cinziana that I think the biggest challenge is just ensuring and delivering on promise. I think it's both difficult, both for the offline stores, which are now switching to omnichannel, switching to online, both to pure online players like us, who also have seen like a big growth during 2020. And adding to this one, I think customer expectations are like increasing every day. They have better offers. They have a lot of competitors working on decreasing delivery times. I think during the 2020, really a lot of changes happened, not only in online, but in fulfillment and last mile in general. So I think the trend will continue, that customer expectations for the faster deliveries and customer expectations for delivering on promise will get even higher, and that of course will be a challenge for everyone working in retail or logistics and so on.
Great. So thank you for your answer. I think we have different points of view in detail, but in general they are all converging in the same direction. And that is that the past year and a half has transformed our lives in many ways, and has accelerated the development of online commerce, in Europe in general and in the world in general, but especially in Romania, which is was more of a traditional market in terms of shopping habits. And I will share now a little bit of my experience from Cushman Wakefield. I mean, in terms of logistics and industrial development, we are right now living the perfect storm. For example, in 2020, we had a transaction volume of almost 1 million square meters in a market that sums up right now around 5.2 million square meters availability of stored space, and that is a lot for only 1 year. We're looking at 2021 with great optimism right now, because in Q1 the volume of transactions has doubled comparing to the same period of 2020. So this leads us to a very optimistic estimation for 2021. If in 2020 we had 1 million in volume, we're expecting to see great numbers in 2021. But I think that this is something that will not stop with the pandemic, because people have experienced right now the way that they win time when they are shopping online. Even their groceries, the fact that they can have them delivered to their footsteps and not waste their time in the supermarket for 2 or 3 hours with parking spaces and everything. This will lead to a massive change in the retail industry. So we're going to advance to the key customer behavior changes during the pandemic and post pandemic. We want to tackle what has gone back to normal, what has changed for good, and how do you as company leaders are adapting your strategies to these changes, and to tackle a little bit the opportunities and complications that come from a shift from brick and mortar commerce to e-commerce. So I think this time I'm going to start with Frederic because I think that a major change we saw a major change in the do-it-yourself industry and a boom in sales actually in the last 1.5 years. Please. You're on mute, Frederic.
Yes. Yes, big changes, of course, big changes and a lot of challenges to address, especially for a company like us, because we started like a startup 10 years ago when we grew, and now we have the size of not a multinational in Romania, but we are a big company, and our ambition is still to double the size of the company in the 5-7 years to come. We believe that we can reach a level of 35-40 stores. We'll have to adjust probably in the years to come this figure because regarding the booming of the online business, probably we won't need so many stores in the future. There are some retailers who are asking questions to themselves about this. This transformation is very challenging, as I said before, integrating some human people, some spirit, and giving the sense to the people about the fact that why we do that. And on top of those topics, I think one of the key dimensions to succeed and to be good in the omni-channel strategy is how your supply chain is organized and how do you cope with the delivery and the last mile delivery of the products, because all the retailers currently are addressing a promise for the customers, which is between 24 hours and 72 hours in terms of delivery frame time. And the supply chain in that moment is very key. And we have, as retailers, many solutions which are not restricted. We can first of all deliver from the store, which is the easiest solution. We did that before launching our online business, because 15% of our sales before the launch of the online business were products which were delivered directly to the home of the customers and the inhabitants of Romania. Why that? Very simple. The rate of detention of cars in Romania was not so developed 10 years ago, and people, they were going to store, they didn't have any car and they wanted to be delivered at home. So we were having and proposing this service already with local transportation companies. It was not always easy. We tried, there was a moment we tried to have a national agreement with just one company delivering all the people. It was not possible because regarding the infrastructure, the difficulty of transportation in Romania, it was not easy. So we came back to a much more local adapted solution for our customers. For the moment, we are doing what we call ship from stores. So I mean that all the orders, when you are going to our site, you contextualize yourself and you choose a store where you want to be delivered from, and then you receive your product regarding a promise that we have. We started at the very beginning in Leroy Merlin on the e-commerce side to deliver small products, as you were evoking, Andre, because it was a choice. Because in our industry, the main difficulty is that we sell roughly 30,000 units, different references in our stores, and we have products which are very small, and we have also big products like kitchens, like a bathroom, etc., etc. And it's not very easy because regarding the transportation policy, the transporters, etc., they are not fully equipped to deliver those kind of products, and it's a bit challenging to find out the right partners for this. So I can tell you that we were working on the first small volume products, and now in June this year we will start to deliver the big volume products, which is a very big challenge. We choose some partners regarding this, and we try to find out and to optimize the solution to deliver those big products. It's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge because you have to cope with the promise that you have, and you have to be very careful that the product that you are delivered will be delivered in good conditions, with a nice amability of the drivers, with a nice sense of service, with a product in a good state, not broken, because otherwise you will have to manage some returns. Returns can cost a lot in the omnichannel strategy, and we have to be very careful on that. For the moment, we don't deliver from our warehouse. We have a big warehouse close to Bucharest, which is preparing the orders for our store, which is making mostly cross-docking for the moment. But we are thinking also about those kind of solutions for products that we can put in stock in the stores. And we are also thinking about new solutions. So omni-channel strategy is obliging you to be creative, to make also some direct deliveries from the suppliers in order to avoid all the transaction and the intermediary solution through the network of stores. So many options on the table, different choices regarding the size, the volume, the type of the products, the origin of the products also, the quality of the product also, and very challenging. I can tell you that my supply chain team is working a lot to find out the best solution. And it's not always easy to cope with that because, as Cynthiana was saying before, the main criteria for a site is the choice of products that you can offer. And in our mind and in our ambition, regarding the DIY industry, the customer's expectation is to find always new products and larger ranges of products proposed on the site. So what I can tell you is that in the years to come, most probably, the size of our range will probably double. So we have 30,000 products proposed to our customers now. In 5 years' time, probably we will be around 60, 70, 80,000 units proposed. It will be a kind of marketplace. It's a fabulous project, but in the same time, we have to cope and to anticipate all the supply chain needs, which is very tricky.
Thank you. This is some amazing insights about the prospects for Leroy business in Romania. Just a quick message to our watchers. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of the talk. So don't be worried that we're not asking your questions for the moment. I'm going to continue with Pijus because Pijus is managing a 100% online business. So I think that in terms of what happened to the online market in the last year and a half, I think you're the best, you're the most competent to answer right now. I mean, you're only onliner, so you should know better. So please.
Really, yeah, for online players, it was really a big change. I think when we started in 2008, it was like the concept of buying furniture online was not like not really normal in the market. And I think for the first years, it was really only early adopters who, let's say, risked and were okay with an idea of purchasing furniture online. But I think, yeah, during the last years, and especially in Romania, where we see this trend that it's really like if let's say we compare Romania to, let's say, to the Baltic states, where I think during the last 10 years, it was quite a gradual move from online to offline. And it wasn't like some years, but it was really like some game changers apart from 2020. But I think in Romania, it happened during the last 2, 3, 5 years. It really like exploded, especially with 2020. But probably where we faced our challenge is that until 2020, the online market for the big players, for the big offline players, it was, something nice to have, but nobody really had a huge motivation to put all their focus and effort in online. And after 2020, like big players, let's say like Frederic, I really believe that omni-channel and online, it's really like on the top of the to-do list. And this is where like all the big offline players came to our playground, and really the competition really increased. Of course, it's a nice competition, and of course it's also like a good motivation for us to improve our operations further. But yeah, I really do understand the challenges behind it, and especially just to give a little background how we work, because we only work with the goods that are like heavy and bulky and not convenient to transport. And on the other hand, I think it's even more difficult for let's say Leroy Merlin, but at least we don't need to mix like a super small items like screws together with some big building materials, and for customer doesn't care. I assume customer can order one small item, two big ones from different warehouses, from different supply chain strategies. One is being delivered by the directly from supplier, other from the store, other directly from the warehouse. But the customer expects absolutely the same great customer experience, and customer doesn't care what happens when he goes into checkout through what warehouses and what delivery methods the supplier will be choosing. And I think really in the very beginning when we started, this is how we ended up. I think it's important to note, why did we start our own last mile logistics, which is usually quite unusual move in online businesses, because so currently we have around 25 cross-dock warehouses across the Europe, and I can't be exact, but a few hundred vans and drivers, and these are the how to say, it really makes us difficult to scale, and we faced a big challenge in 2020. We need to limit our growth because we just couldn't handle the last mile ourselves, and we didn't have a know-how and knowledge how to work with third-party companies, because we've been quite used to 70, 80, 90% growth year over year, and it was fine, and we could scale with our own last mile. But 2020 and especially second quarter and huge increase in orders really been tough for us just to handle the customer inquiries, to handle the deliveries, and to keep up especially the delivery and promise and customer expectations in line. But again, the reason behind we've chose to do our own last mile delivery was quite historical, because in 2008 when we started, it was no good infrastructure. Maybe it was some infrastructure for the deliveries when it comes to like smaller items, but it was definitely no good infrastructure for the heavy and bulky items. So this is why we thought that, and we made this difficult decision that we will do the last mile ourselves. It's expensive. It requires a lot of focus. It's completely other business, and but we need to do it in case to keep the customer expectations at the level how we want. So basically, we always say that we're really not a furniture company. We are e-commerce and logistics company. We have really very little to do with the furniture. We have around 100,000 different items, SKUs. They're all different, but we only see the boxes in the warehouses. We really don't. We're not product specialists. We are mainly like really a logistics company rather than the furniture company.
Thank you very much for the interesting insights, and hopefully we will see this last mile warehouse that you're talking about of doing yourself very, very soon. I'm going to pass to Dragana and to see in the sports section how was the industry, what changed, and how this affected or improved your business.
Well, definitely the changes were slightly different than what we heard until now, because fashion industry, this clothing industry was pretty much available online, especially in Romania. It was not something new for people, and people were used shopping online because fashion online shopping was like something similar. However, there were a couple of small things that we actually are still living. I will give a couple of examples. First of all, Kvantum Sport was caught in pandemics without an online channel. Therefore, the online channel started, let's say, a fast organization and a fast delivery which was not expected. And in 45 days, 2 websites were on and working, and as if they were there from the beginning. It is amazing how people adapted really quickly to something that was new for us. However, it was not new for them. The shift that we saw is different in each country. For example, in Serbia, we saw that people from smaller cities started buying more. Therefore, we had to ensure logistics and the last mile in smaller cities being done correspondingly, which was something new for the business, especially for fashion, let's say, brands and sporting brands such as Under Armour. In Romania, on the other hand, larger cities were still, let's say, the main drivers and still more interested in this. However, what shifted in the last mile was that people preferred receiving their goods in the pickup points, not receiving them at home, which is, I'm sure, completely different to furniture business or, let's say, a DIY business, because you assume that, taking consideration it's a piece of shoe or clothing, people would prefer having it delivered at home. But no, this is interesting. People actually prefer it in different pickup points. So another change, because until now people prefer delivering it to the office because most of the times they were present in the office. Now, no, maybe it was an excuse just to take another walk during pandemics or something like that, because yeah, lockdown hit pretty hard. Besides this, we had a couple of changes in regards of preferences, purchasing preferences. Under Armour is a very performance-oriented brand, and male customers were our main target. However, during pandemics, this shifted, and women collections started selling much better. We all know that women are mostly present on online fashion shopping places, yeah, so we are the main target group, and this was actually very felt in the sporting industry. Also, throughout the sporting fashion industry, clothing became something that people look for rather than shoes, and this makes sense. People started working out at home, so and generally healthy way of living started being the new trend. Even though it was present before, now it became even more present, and people are looking for that, and therefore buying comfortable clothes for sports, but also for staying at home, because work from home doesn't necessarily require you to wear full-on suit. You can wear like pajamas or sporting pants and have a nice shirt up front. So this is why maybe this shift happened. And what we needed to do as retailers, because after all, this is our main business, we are suppliers and we need to choose collections wisely. We actually had to shift the way we purchase goods. We needed to shift this trend. If we were focused on one group of products before, now the group of products that we have to be focused is different, and we need to assume what's going to happen from now onwards. A lot of people in the region started running, so running is a new sport everyone is doing. Even myself, I've never been a runner before, but during pandemics, I was running around the block just to blow off some steam. So yeah, running shoes are going to be something new, and the question is, okay, is this going to follow the next year, or should we be actually basing our business on 2020, or should we actually adapt it and try to see what's going to happen? So this is basically the behavior, the changes that we saw in the behavior, which are again much more detailed compared to other industries, just because people were used to buying from online the clothing and sports. However, I must say that there is one switch, because being in the European Union, the market is open, we can order from the whole Europe, everything is open to us. People started taking care whether the business is local or, let's say, from a different country, or does it have a local office or local business, because this whole marketing strategy that we had, buy locally, support local partners, support local players, they're dying out due to lockdown, due to all the pandemics and situations that we have. Small players are should be protected. So this is another shift in behavior, which is maybe very thin line compared to like what was before. It is pretty present, because people want to know if what they're purchasing is actually locally present or not. Of course, we're talking about a certain percentage, not an overall change in the buying, but this percentage affects our business, especially in the sporting industry.
Thank you very much, Dragana. I'm going to move forward to Sânziana. And Sânziana, we would like to understand from a real estate developer, from an industrial developer perspective, How do you see the changes, the key of customer behavior changes during the pandemic? What has changed for good? What has changed for bad? And how did you adapt your strategy to these changes?
Andrea, I think the most important change, I wouldn't say change, I would say development that the pandemic brought is what you already mentioned, is the acceleration of the adoption of e-commerce, the fantastic growth in the e-commerce numbers. You know, if we do look at some concrete numbers, the growth last year worldwide, or the estimated growth of the e-commerce market, was over 27%. And this is according to a study by eMarketer. And it is expected, you know, now looking also further ahead, what will happen in 2021? Will this trend continue? Some estimations say that yes, it will continue. Again, the same study points to an estimated 14% growth in 2021. So obviously at a slower pace. There's also discussions of a rebound in at least maybe could be short-term rebound for the second half of 2021 in people actually going back to in-store purchases just because of the experience, with more of a social element than a necessarily consumption element. For us, the important positive aspect is that e-commerce grew and will continue to grow at a fast pace. You already mentioned that even in Romania, we could see that the pace of adoption was what in 1 year is what was estimated previously before pandemic that it would happen in 5 years. It's the same globally, like similar numbers I've seen in different studies. Obviously, this is extremely relevant for our warehousing industry because the e-commerce business is a lot more warehousing intensive. We're talking about probably over 3, so between 3 and 4 times higher need for warehousing space for e-commerce business than from regular brick and mortar business. And what's interesting, just looking at the consumer behavior, and I'm talking here, you know, with not the developer head, but let's say the consumer head, where did this growth come from? And it came growth in e-commerce. It came from, you know, the people that were already buying online, buying more of the same product online. Then people also expanded the range of product, which is what also Frederic confirmed, Dragana as well. So we saw an expansion of what we're ordering online. And a lot of us, we realized, oh my God, it's actually, yes, very easy to buy furniture online and is reliable and you know, it's fun. And, you know, it's easy to buy groceries online and not waste the time in the supermarkets and all of that. And then thirdly, new people came online, you know, as everything in life, necessity is the best teacher. So even those who didn't know, you know, weren't online, weren't using their, you know, smart devices, they had to start. The senior population, people, you know, in, let's say, in the countryside, in secondary locations who hadn't used much, the e-commerce sites before. As Dragana mentioned, now we saw a surge in the number of people from the country, let's say smaller cities, the countryside that were ordering online. So it's all these interesting, you know, factors that come into play to get to these very high numbers. And I must say that I'm just hearing all the conversation from the perspective of a developer. It provides even more positive prospects for the future. I mean, what Frederic mentioned was music to every developer's ears. The fact that they will double the number of different products that they will be selling online, because this means more warehousing space at the end of the day, because you need to have those products available. Whilst it's difficult to predict how much all these new tendencies will influence our market, we can say for sure that the trend is upward, and we don't expect an end in sight for this tendency. Just another thing to mention, because with all of these, growth of e-commerce, as Pijus mentioned, people, the expectations of customers increased. It's a fundamental human trait that we always want more, for good and bad. We always want more, we always want the better. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the way you look at it, whatever is set already as a base, you need to overcome it. Customers want more, customers want progress, so progress we must, all of us, and we must find solutions for it.
Thank you very much, Sanziana. I'm going to share now a little bit of our agency experience in the market. What we have seen happen the last 1.5 years, because of the online surge, we have seen courier services expand in numbers, in hubs, in smaller cities, in order to be able to deliver proper solutions to the customers in due time. And we also have seen a change in leasing habits and the change of clients, actually, because 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we had somehow the usual suspects in the industry that were either relocating, opening up new logistics centers. But after the pandemic hit and we had that lockdown for 2.5 months, any retail business that wanted to survive had to analyze carefully the prospects of online commerce, of e-commerce, and that led to a boom in leasing space, in requests for space, and not only in Bucharest. And we have to keep in mind that in the logistics and industrial services, the Bucharest market covers around 60% of the total Romania. But now we've seen players opening up smaller distribution centers all across Romania, just to be able to get the merchandise to the couriers and to deliver it in due time. And there are some couriers in the market that really raised the bar and made customers expect sometimes delivery in under 24 hours. There is also a new service in the market right now. I'm not going to name it, I'm just going to talk about it. It's that you sign up to an application and you can have the products delivered to your doorstep with high priority in 10 to 12 hours. So as major shift that we're seeing in the last 1.5 years is the explosion of online commerce to businesses that weren't into it 2 years ago, and the way that the courier business had to reshape their strategies in order to deliver the products in due time, because the former courier development throughout Romania was based on certain requests of the market. And when things started to go up very, very, very fast, they had to reinvent themselves. Going further to the next topic of our discussion, creating efficiency in the last mile delivery system. We have spoken earlier about trends and specific needs of the market, and now we will tackle delivery options and the role of technology in delivering a better customer experience. I would like to start now with Dragana to talk a little bit about delivery options, the differences between markets and customer preferences, because you're handling Romania, Bulgaria, and Croatia. And what are your plans to expand the online channel and open new physical new stores?
So for now, we have an online store only for Romania, and our colleagues from the group have it in Serbia. We're going to open an online channel in Bulgaria in 2 weeks' time. Therefore, we're already observing some differences regarding deliveries and delivery options and things that people are used to in different markets. What was interesting for me when researching is that a lot of choices that people have are dictated by the rules and regulations of each country. So if there is a regulation that a country has which represents a challenge for a company to deliver or to execute e-commerce is reflected in the way people prefer to receive their goods, which is amazing. This is why, for example, we can see a difference between Romania and all other countries in the region. I must say that Romania, interestingly, is the most developed and the most trend-oriented when it comes to different tools and practices and technologies that are being used for e-commerce and for online, which again, is very interesting compared to the numbers that you mentioned at the beginning and how actually not a lot of people are involved. Therefore, we are definitely trying to develop this, and we are going to develop it with various tools that are being offered. Of course, CRM is one of the most important things that can be used both brick and mortar and online. If those could be combined, and of course, the combination of those two actually brings in the best practice as well as the omnichannel approach of the business that we are using. However, we are not going to entirely stop the development of our physical stores, because you mentioned this question before. Being a mono brand and a brand that is actually worldwide known, it is important to ensure people's trustworthiness, and you can ensure trustworthiness if they see physically what is going on. Because if a brand is unknown to you, we are still tangible people. Yeah, we like to touch things. So maybe having this a possibility to get acquaintance with the brand physically will help a lot. Therefore, we are going to develop a couple of more locations in Romania and also in Bulgaria and Croatia. Of course, everything was postponed due to pandemics and the situation that we are facing. Maybe it will be postponed for the next part of this year, let's say the second part of this year, and also the following years. However, we will not stop entirely with the brick and mortar. I think that the markets are still not ready to give up the brick and mortar. Definitely online will be growing, and this is what we will be focusing on. What is interesting that we have already a growth of almost 20%. It's around 17% now, 2021 compared to 2020 in online sales. We have already reached a 12% share from the whole business in online, and which is around 30% compared to the retail business, brick and mortar business. Sorry, the classical business that we are used to. Therefore, our plan is to let's say maintain brick and mortar business, develop it throughout different cities, key cities, definitely on key positions in all three countries that I'm responsible for. Nevertheless, we are going to focus on online and develop it as one of our main tools, business, like selling tools, definitely, not only for the pandemic's, let's say, case, but also for the brand case. Like, you need to be present online. We're talking about target groups such as millennials and Gen Z. All these people are entirely online, especially Gen Z. You cannot see a teenager or a young adult without having a smartphone, a tablet. So therefore, not only a website, maybe an application will also be something we are going to develop, especially for our kvantumsport.com website, because all sport performers are connected. I don't think there is, maybe some old school, let's say, sport performers, everyone else is connected either through a smartwatch, a smartphone, and this is how we monitor our life, our our performance, and therefore maybe having this combo and using this tool, performance applications, smartwatches, the behavior that we are seeing in having this online life for everyone will be something we'll be focusing on together with ensuring trustworthiness with our physical stores and locations throughout countries.
So as a consumer of Under Armour products, I'm very glad to hear that you continue to invest in brick and mortar spaces and also into technology to your online consumers. Also, I think that sustainability is very important for a brand, and I'm going to go over to Pijus. How does this matter for consumers? The sustainability, the fact that sustainability is important for the brand. Does it matter, or they are interested, especially in the products, and they're not interested how they get to the doorstep or not? This is also an open question to the other speakers.
I think currently, if we take this year, I think as in our markets, it's still not on the their top priorities list for our customers. But I think the trend is that it will be more and more increasingly important, and that customers will, while choosing the retailer for their product, they will also evaluate not only price, not only delivery times and other things, but like another more the sustainability part will be also play quite an important role. So I think the ones who will put more focus into it, it will be maybe not that big deal during the next this year or the next year, but I think in the long term it will make quite a big difference.
Yeah, I think that right now we are getting more and more environmentally aware. We're looking at, I don't know, green buildings, LEED buildings, BREEAM certified buildings. I don't know, Frederic, would you like to set your point on this matter?
Yes, with pleasure. It's one of my favorite topic actually, because we are convinced in the ADEO Group and in Leroy Merlin that being responsible means a lot for the customers and the construction of the brand. And it implies a lot of credibility for all the actions. We spoke a lot about digital transformation, supply chain matters, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, I think the expectation of the customers, whatever the country, but in Romania, it will grow a lot in the 5 years to come, is all those aspects dealing with responsibility of the brand, responsibility in the quality of the products that you are delivering. I don't believe anymore that Romania is a low-cost country. Not at all. It's finished. It's over. Romanian market has been booming over the last year. Romanian customers are very open to what happens in other parts of the world, and Romanian customers are appreciating more and more qualitative products. That's why in our group we launched a big project, which will be a roughly 10 years project. We call it internally, we make it positive, and you will see some communication around that in the months to come, because it's not just a marketing plan, a marketing speech towards the market. We really want, and we believe to, as I said before, for the omnichannel strategy, we want to do what we say. And we believe in responsibility, we believe in people, we believe in the safety of people, and responsibility is coping with a lot of subjects. It's first of all the security of our guys, the health of our guys, what they are breathing, in which kind of working environment they are working. Is it sane? Is it secure? Etc. etc. So there are many, many topics. What I can do is that our group is following the 17 commitments of the United Nations of the sustainability. It's a very, very big engagement and commitment from us. And we will do a lot of things in that direction. So, of course, security of our people, much more ecological and environmental friendly products. It's what we call positive products in our company. Much more friendly stores also, with solar panel, with LED technology, not only in our stores but it also in our warehouses. And also we will deal with social project. Probably you know that last year we launched with Auchan Romania an hospital dealing with the treatment of COVID patients, and we have in mind to transform this hospital this year in a kind of social center. And when you do that, you don't do marketing. I mean, you do this because you want to be useful to the local field and the local country. I believe it is a personal conviction that a company is not just an entity making sales and profits. If you have that in mind, I mean, it's good, it's okay, you are an entrepreneur, but it's not enough. I think that each company, and our role as entrepreneurs, as general manager or CEOs, is to contribute to the utility of the local field, helping the ones who don't have the chance that we have. And I think it's small investments. When you say that internally, I can see that with my teams in Leroy Merlin, the enthusiasm and the passion is very good, and the people raise their hands to say, I'm here, I want to be involved in that project, and I want to engage myself in that project. This is just amazing, and it participates also to the stability of the company, the happiness of our teams, and their personal development. So, fabulous subject. It has to be structured because it's a bit complex, and we are touching a lot of subject. But I think it's the future, and the young generation won't forgive us not to go in that direction. I think if we just keep ourselves in the same direction, okay, developing omni-channel, internet sales, etc., but not changing, this period of pandemic made us think about new changes and new way of perceiving life. I think the future of the companies won't change their approach on this, will be very, very difficult. So I have a very positive attitude regarding this. I don't have all the solutions, all the answers. We will find out that with our teams, but combining our economic role to a social role, I think it's very, very important.
Thank you very much, Frederic. Sânziana, I know for a fact that for P3, sustainability and environment protection is a very, very big deal. Why don't you please share with us your angle on the subject?
Thank you, Andrei. It is indeed a very important element of our strategy going forward. And I think, as Frederic mentioned, it's a journey. We've started on it, we're continuing on it, but it's constantly developing. We're also learning as we're doing it, and also technology changes with every year. So we always need to adapt in this regard as well. But what we are doing already, we've engaged this year in a project through our European-wide portfolio to certify all our buildings as BREEAM in use. So we are currently undergoing some improvements within our buildings and our parks in order to achieve our desired certification level. And this comes, as also Frederic mentions, from a strong desire and purpose of the company to go in that direction, sustained very much by our shareholder. And what we like about it is that it spreads not only in these physical measures and projects that we're doing, but it does engage the whole company. It elevates a little bit, the level of, let's say, engagement of all the employees with the company, with this project. There is, it adds, as I think, Daniel Pink mentions in his book about motivation, it adds a higher purpose that together as a company, we can bring into our daily life, into the community, into the society that we are part of. So we are also very passionate about these projects. I said one is Briam. Second, we just inaugurated 2 weeks ago the first 2 chargers for electric cars in our park. So you can charge now 4 electric cars simultaneously. This is a project in collaboration with our partners from Renovatio, who are electricity providers, and it addresses the general population. So anyone who has an e-car is welcome to come to our park to use the e-chargers. We see this as a tendency with our customers as well. We don't yet have any dedicated chargers for them, but we know for a fact that some of the customers are now working on developing their fleet of cars. So for sure, soon we will have a lot more of these requirements, and we would be very happy to collaborate with them to deliver them. Luckily, we have the electrical capacity within our park at a sufficient enough level to be able to accommodate all the requests in these regards. Just on the sustainability side, to mention, since we are talking about e-commerce, there is a study made by the MIT Real Estate Innovation Labs that analyzed the impact on emissions of e-commerce versus brick and mortar's real estate, and they came with the conclusion that e-commerce is around 36% more, emits 36 less carbon dioxide than regular brick and mortars. These are numbers based on US study. Obviously, I would say the geography there and the distance from customers to the big malls is different. So I'm not sure how it would actually translate in more densely populated areas like Europe and Romania. But it is a measure, like it does show the tendency. So and another element that they were mentioning, which I found quite interesting, is that the more you build up your logistics network, meaning add more last mile locations that are closer to the customer, the less emissions you actually emit. And they were saying that basically it improves with an additional 10% the emissions efficiency if you have more, if you go closer to the customers with your logistics network.
So, Sanjana, you have a lot of retailers on your grounds here in Bucharest, and you are known as a very good last mile warehouse. What's the trends on your existing customers in terms of e-commerce? They're expanding. How did they act in the last 1.5 years?
I think the more relevant numbers come from our groups activity. If we look at the overall percentage of e-commerce customers within our portfolio, we are at this point at 20%. More importantly, if we look at the growth from 2019 to 2020 of the square meters occupied, that number is 28%. So it's a very significant increase in the footprint that e-commerce companies are occupying within our park. And this doesn't show the full picture. What we're measuring here, we're measuring only the pure e-commerce retailers or customers, but we have, around 50% of our portfolio is occupied by 3PLs, and some of these 3PLs are actually doing e-fulfillment activities within our warehouses. They're obviously difficult to quantify because the type of activities are merged into bigger warehouses. So this 20% does not reflect what happens within the activity of the 3PL partners that we host in our warehouses. So the number is for sure bigger, but we don't have the visibility on how bigger. Looking at the Romanian portfolio, we have a slightly higher percentage of e-commerce occupiers within our park, and it's 23% at this point. It has been, I would say that in the past, it's growing in the past 2 years. The pandemic didn't necessarily bring new customers to our park, but what we've seen are two things. We've had, let's say, indirect requests related to e-commerce, and that's because some of e-commerce customers expanded in their location and some other customers were pushed out, so we had to find solutions for them. And we also had short-term requests from our e-commerce customers. Given the seasonality of the business with Black Friday, with the end of the year holiday period sales, there's a big increase in the need of warehousing space during such times, and this is where we're seeing even more demand, more activity from the e-commerce in 2020 and in 2021 than we used to see before the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Sanjana. We're going to go further to our next topic, and this is gaps hindering the first mile. I think the last year and a half was full of various disruptions and developing strong relationships between online and omnichannel and even brick and mortar retailers and their suppliers is a very, very important topic. And I would like to pass the microphone to Frederic and to see how this pandemic and the disruptions that came with it affected the business, and how Leroy Merlin continued to develop a strong relationship with his suppliers and tackle the challenges that came along.
Right, large scale question about suppliers and relationship with suppliers. We do consider in Leroy Merlin our suppliers as long-term suppliers. We don't like to make short-term actions with suppliers. We are not that style. I mean, when we construct a commercial relationship with suppliers, I mean, it's for the long term. It doesn't mean that we are always agree on many things. We might have some disagreements. We might have some fights sometimes regarding price policy, regarding availability on shelf, capacity of delivering, etc., etc. Negotiations are tough, especially in that moment where we have a lack of materials. You know that it's not a secret, but in the United States and China, the economic activity is restarting very, very strongly. So we might have some risk of shortages in the months to come. So it's difficult, but we consider our suppliers as true partners, and building a relationship with them for the long term. I mean, I'm not interested as a CEO to have a supplier coming through and proposing me just one thing for one shot for a week in my stores. No, it's not the way I'm building the business, because we are building houses for customers, and a house is not made just for 1 week. It's made sometime for life. So it's a lifetime relationship that we want to build with them. First aspect. The second aspect is that during the pandemic time, we were really focusing on how our suppliers were surviving. It was very important. I mean, it's a total reciprocity relationship. I mean, they need us, but we need them. And I think it's a very huge respect we have each other, and that's why we have good relationship with our suppliers. And during this pandemic, we were lucky because we have roughly 600 suppliers currently in our portfolio, and only one small company, and we try to help them, we try to order them some products, didn't survive after the crisis. The rest, they were having some difficulties, social difficulties of production, but they maintain a high level of activity. And I can tell you that all my teams, my purchasing teams and my finance teams, they were always trying to find out solution for them, because we knew that it was not easy. The third aspect is dealing for the suppliers regarding the ethics and respect of rules. Each supplier wanting to work in Leroy Merlin has to sign an ethic code that we launched 3 years ago. We made a big convention with our suppliers, and there are things which are totally forbidden, because you know that retail sometimes attracts a lot of temptation from the suppliers and the sales people on the field, and we are defining a clear statement between our suppliers and us. Some of them refused to sign it. If they refuse to sign it, we have no other way not to collaborate anymore with them. We are very positive guys, but we respect and we believe in honesty and ethics in our company. That's why we try to impose those kind of things with our suppliers. The last aspect, it's a connection, it's a subject connected with the former one we evoked before. It's all about the positive products and responsibility of the products and quality of the products. For this, we have higher and higher expectation regarding our suppliers. We try to see with them how they can optimize the packaging, how can they reduce the size of the products, how can they reduce the quantity of plastic or chemical material that they are using for their products. So we have a real, but it's a core responsibility we want to take with them, to have a real partnership in improving the quality and make the products more providing much more savings in terms of energy, in terms of water, in terms of whatever. I think it's very important. It will change the business model, because as we are proposing more qualitative product, it means that the renewing of those products will be lower in the years to come. And we have a business model based on more customers buying more products. And there is a paradox, because we are asking our suppliers to cope with us and to provide us more ecological and more healthy products. I think it's a both mutual advantage. I think the market will continue to grow. I think the consumer will be very careful in the years to come about the quality of the product they will buy for their home, and probably they won't change so much the solutions. But I prefer personally, as a representative of a brand for the home market, to provide great products so that the people should be very happy at their home, because actually it's our goal, and this is a passionate job, because we provide products to construct the home of the Romanian people. I prefer to sell them qualitative products rather than selling less in the future, but be much more responsible. So long-term relationship, constructive approach, fighting. I think the main challenge that I saw in the chat, there was a question dealing the differences between online and offline business. I think that the availability on shelf is a key factor of success for retailers currently in Romania, because we are in a country where the level of consumption is very high. It's probably one of the highest in Europe, and it is for me very big conditions to create a trade relationship with suppliers. But I think we managed to do that in a good way, in a fair way, and we keep them on board. So it's a good sign. I mean, it's not easy every day, but we are there with them for a long term. So that's great.
Thank you very much, Frederic. We're going to go forward to Dragana and to Pijus, and afterwards we're going to start the Q&A, because surprisingly we have a lot of questions from our participants. So Dragana, how was this last year and a half for you, and what challenges did you have in the supply chain in the context, of course, of pandemic?
Well, the main challenge that we faced is in the first mile is that there is a very large shortage of containers in Asia. I think everyone can relate to that. And this led not only to delays in deliveries, but also to higher price of shipping. And of course, trying to maintain attractive prices, or let's say corresponding prices of the end product, is affected due to this shortage. So the whole pandemic situation definitely affected us. And as being suppliers, as we have our wholesale business developed, automatically had to impact our customers as well. However, we tried to somehow overcome this with the solution that we had within our own stock. So basically, the stock that we usually used to have for extra results was used for normal and everyday business. So basically, I think this was the main challenge that we have. All other challenges were basically, I think, something that everyone changed. So that everyone faced, such as delays or lack of materials, primary materials, or being having the need to split certain goods with different markets in order to fulfill everyone's needs. But locally, we managed to actually sustain everything based on our contracts and the deals that we have made. So we didn't have any delays in this part, especially in the, let's say, middle mile to the last mile. However, yeah, the first mile definitely very big problem. And I think that we're going to face this in the following seasons as well, as the situation is still not entirely aligned. And also the other issues like we had in the Suez Canal with the shipments being blocked and everything else. I think this is basically a global challenge that everyone faced at this point in life and in this point in pandemics, let's say. My expectations are that we are gonna keep facing these challenges for a while now, maybe for another year or so, if not even more, except if we do something differently. And I'm sure that experts in this domain are already working on it, changing the ways things are being shipped, or maybe we're going to change places of production, even though, as Frederic mentioned, yeah, Romania is not a country that is cheap anymore, and not only Romania, different countries in the world as well. Therefore, again, Asia is going to be the main continent of production. So therefore, I believe that this is the first bottleneck that we need to solve.
Thank you very much, Dragana. Moving over to Pijus, how the pandemic affected the relationship between your suppliers and what happened with the production? And
I think we had despite the usual issues that everyone had in 2020, we had a really big positive effect when it comes to relationships with suppliers, because for the last 10 years, all online retailers, for the most of the suppliers and producers, it was always not a priority. All the big producers and suppliers were really focused on the big brick and mortar chains and the offline stores and so on. So it was quite usual for us that, okay, here are our best sellers, but they are always reserved for this chain and that chain and so on. And everyone looked at online businesses as if they are like just stealing the customers from the offline stores. And we really, like, for the 10 years, we tried to prove that no, we are like a source of primary source of customers, and that really there is demand for the customers to shop online. They are not only shopping online because they found it somewhere online and wants to find it cheaper. So I think this 2020 was like a big change, and a lot of producers understood that, okay, online is really something where we also need to focus on, and we also need to prioritize. And also we used this opportunity in just in very big beginning of pandemic, just to gain some trust. We really stood up and told, like, no matter what happens, we are continue to push orders, and there will be no changes in our cooperation. And we always wanted to find an opportunity how to prove ourselves that online is not is a really good and important channel for all the producers and suppliers that we've been working with. And I think it really had a positive impact in our relationship. And probably another point to touch about the sustainability side is that really, like adding to the last topic, I think that really the biggest change will happen when the companies like Leroy, Merlin, and who share the good values, like fundamental values that we need to be socially responsible, not only looking to the profits, but like really to have strong values of social responsibility, when it will become a market standard, and like most of the companies will have these values, I think then the biggest change will happen. And yeah, I think nobody has a very clear plan and vision, and everybody's trying to work on it, but there is no like secret formula how to become more sustainable. But I think the first thing that we all can do is like just to start measuring it, I know the impact that we're making, and then just, you know, discussing about it and requiring it from our logistics partners, warehousing partners, and so on. And I think eventually everyone will choose logistics parts which have BREEAM and instead of others, despite they are cheaper. But I think the other issue will be suppliers, because we can, you know, be more sustainable on our last mile, deliver with electric hybrid vehicles and so on. But yeah, how the products are made and to push these ideas to suppliers, that they would be also more socially responsible when it comes to production, that might be an issue, because being more sustainable also means increasing costs, and especially now when there's like a huge demand and there's lack in containers, lack in materials. Everybody just focusing just to produce something, not prioritizing sustainability and other things. Now it's just most important to get the goods shipped. So I think we as retailers will face issues how to make suppliers more sustainable, and especially in the markets where price still is an important factor, and the sustainability, and unfortunately it doesn't always come for free. But yeah, hopefully this sustainability trend really continues and will also influence the suppliers.
Thank you very much, Pijus. We are moving forward to the questions and answers section. I think I'm going to start this time with Sanziana and myself, because I feel that is a question that can be tackled by both of us. We have a question from Anand Asi, which is, it seems, a UK citizen. He's saying that in UK, with declining high street footfall, the dark stores and urban fulfillment models are starting to grow with a very high level of implementation of AI. And the main question is that if this trend is being observed in the CEE markets today, if we see that some brownfields might change to redevelopment or a reanimation of old, unused, non-performance stores that are located within the large cities. So please feel free, and I'll state my opinion afterwards.
Thank you, Andrei. Thank you, Anand, for the question. This is a trend that is very much discussed within the real estate circles and e-commerce circles. Now, we do see it, as you mentioned, in the West, in Western Europe, where I think the pace of development is definitely more advanced. And what I mean by that is that e-commerce penetration or e-commerce percentage of overall retail sales is higher, which means that brick and mortar retail had been more affected. And indeed, I was looking at some graphs of net stores openings in the US over the past few years, and in the last 4 years, it's negative. So that means that there are basically store closures, right? And it makes absolute sense in this omni-channel dynamics, in this last mile, tendency to use those unused brownfields now for these last mile deliveries. Whether now the question was more specific, is it happening in CE and Romania? I can talk for Romania, and we're not yet seeing a clear trend towards that, because I believe that there's, this percentage of online retail versus brick and mortars is not at the point that brick and mortars is seriously affected. Whether we will start seeing it, for sure we will. It will start happening. It's starting to happen in a hybrid manner, where this omni-channel approach that we've been talking about goes basically not, like the e-commerce is moving, the warehouse becomes a store, but the store becomes a warehouse and a point of delivery, and retailers are already doing that. So that is happening, but to see just a brownfield a store closed down and retransformed into last mile delivery, not yet. It will be there though.
Thank you very much, Sanziana. Just a quick add on my side. I think that retailers should keep a balance between brick and mortar and online, because brick and mortar also helps their brand awareness very, very much. I know for a fact that there are some discussions in the big cities of Romania, and there are some projects that might start regarding dark stores, but mainly in food retail for the moment, because the pandemic brought the delivery of groceries to the doorstep to a whole new level, and the people like the idea that they can program deliveries within a week. I mean, you can have Monday deliver something to you, Wednesday water, and Friday something else. And this might also affect the appearance of dark stores, might also affect product prices, because you have it seems that you'll have a lower cost for real estate, and this will also be affected in the price. I also have a strong feel and support for in-city logistics, in which I hope someone will start to break ground very, very soon on this project. There are a lot of demands in the market, but because of the high land prices within the big cities, it has been very difficult for developers to buy and develop and to keep the expected rents in the market. So that means actually that the customer, the company that will lease, will have to re-educate themselves a little bit and to be willing to accept that they have to pay a bigger rent if they want to be closer to the customers. Going further with the next question for Frederic. Actually, Frederic had a lot of questions. We're going to send them over by email, but I'm going to reach one of it. In terms of customer journeys, Mrs. Anda Dragic is referring probably to brick and mortar experience versus online. What are the differences between pain points when comparing offline and online? And if there are differences in pain points, how did you overcome them?
So it's a very smart and interesting question, and it is at the heart of the strategy when you launch the omnichannel strategy for me. I think there are not so many differences in the pain points we might have on let's say the offline business with the stores and the online business. We took, let's say, I will give you what kind of decisions we took, but very simple things. The first pain point could be concerning, for example, the prices of the products. What is your price policy? Do you have a different price policy in the stores, or do you have the same price policy on online business? We made a very clear choice. The same price policy everywhere, whatever the location, whatever the site, whatever the destination of the products. So this is very, very clear. And whenever it's possible, to be cheaper than our dear competitors. So this is the first question. But pricing policy can be a very big pain point for both channels. The second aspect, I evoked it a bit during the conference. It's about the availability on shelf and the accuracy of the stocks. it's very, very important to be totally transparent regarding the customers about the availability. I prefer to say to a customer, I don't have the product. For the moment, I can't say to him online that I will receive the product in 1 week. It's my dream, but I don't have it for now. But I think it's a very precise pain point, and for this we launch a big project of accuracy of our stocks level in our stores. And the last pain point is dealing with the relationship we have with the customer. In offline business, actually, it's very simple. If a customer has a problem, he asks one of our sales guy in the store or whoever, and he will get an answer. Generally, our guys have good knowledge, they have good competencies. On online business, the pain point is that we don't have anyone to answer to the customer. So we don't have any chat box solution for the moment for our sites. We are thinking of it. It will come in the following time. But what is very difficult is to give the advantage of the products to answer to the question of the customers. So that's why the content of each product, I mean, each product which is published on our site is reviewed by many people in the company to check that what we say to the customer is very legible, readable, and understandable. It is very tricky. You can't imagine. Sometimes you have some products, you think that they are simple to explain, and you realize that they have a lot of technical aspects and so on, which are very difficult to explain to the customers. And the main challenge, I think, for the retailers having both stores and online stores, it's to be as much as simple as they could be regarding the customers. I mean, the customers, some of them are knowing the technical details and the technical characteristic of a product, but the more you transform those technical characteristics in consumer benefits, it's really, really good. That's why we have an approach in Leroy Merlin. We are trying to speak to our customers in terms of use of the product. We are selling you this product because it will be useful and you will use it as for this. It's very, very important. It's a fight, honestly. Very difficult. We collaborate a lot with the suppliers for this because we ask them to provide us the best definition and the best technical characteristic. And I think for all the platforms, whatever the business you are in for the online business, this aspect is a very big pain point for all retailers.
Thank you very much, Frederic. We're moving forward to a question from Adrian Postolache to Dragana. How do you intend to push or maintain the current online orders for the future and improve checkout experience?
This is a very tricky question.
I know, but
okay, so we definitely intend to push current online orders, and definitely there is space for improvement. Improvement can be done from A to Z, literally from our platform. We have a custom-made platform, so definitely our platform can always be much more user-friendly. Also, we were going to try to use tools that would automatize certain steps, make it simpler. As we know, there are a lot of players in the Romanian market that are actually very good with this, so therefore we have some big shoes to fill. Therefore, besides having a user-friendly platform, offering what my peers were talking about, accurate stock, real-time stock, what is happening actually, and offering being able to deliver what we offer on the website. Also, maintain and ensure returns in terms of customers returning to our website. So this is loyalty. Online loyalty is much more difficult to maintain than brick and mortar loyalty. However, being able to use marketing tools such as newsletters or personalized offers can ensure this. And of course, regarding the checkout experience needs to offer, to be able to offer our client everything they need in terms of payments, deliveries. I saw a question in the chat regarding whether the delivery should be made when the customer wants it. Definitely, this is what we all would like to do. However, it's not only on the retailers and on the e-commerce players to do so. We need logistics partners to be able to deliver when the customer wants it. there is still space, let's say, in the CE markets to develop this part of deliveries and of business. But definitely having an approach that is going to offer a unique experience is something we would like to strive for, except of course always being able to deliver what we offer. As Diana mentioned at the beginning of this panel, is something very important, and definitely this is something we're striving for.
Thank you very much, Dragana. The next question is for Pijus. It's coming from Adrian Postolake also. Hopefully it's a question regarding with the pandemic and the increase of online orders, did you notice a similar behavior in refunds and returns? And how are you addressing this behavior?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think quite sensitive topic for all the online retailers. But I think one of the reasons why we have our own last mile is to decrease the number of returns, because it's the first thing that we can really avoid transport damages and like the usual things that could be improved with a transport which is like only delivering how to say specialized products. So I think this is one thing, and the another one is that when the people who are making the actual deliveries are representing the company and are not from the third party, they have a quite a big advantage that a lot of problems and issues can be really solved on the spot on the actual delivery. And that kind of makes quite a huge difference and really decreases the returns quite dramatically, because if there's an issue, it can be really solved on the spot. Even the return, if customer doesn't like something, the return could be made much easier just immediately. What also like makes the customer experience better. So in our case, if we're talking about percentage, we didn't see a big increase in 2020. I think it stayed on more or less on the same level. But I think in general, people really also long-term trend that it's now more convenient for them to return the goods, more convenient to have a refund and so on. So I think customer expectations also in this part are increasing, and in our case we solved it with our own last mile, but I imagine that other companies might face challenges with returns and refunds also.
Thank you very, very much, Pijus. Now we're going to have a last question for Frederic. I just have to find it because it's a lot of questions for Frederic, and I saw one which I liked. And the question is, for last mile transport, is there a focus on delivering when the consumer wants it and needs it, and not when the retailer wants it or can? And how can you approach this? I think it's a very sensible topic for the consumer. And how can you address this in a proper manner?
It's a very good question. Actually, no. The answer is no. We don't impose the solution. We consider now that we are sellers of home solutions and home products for home. So the first logic is to deliver the products to the home of the customers. Of course, and I think it was evoked in the discussion before, we have a lot of solutions which can be addressed, and tomorrow it will be the future. What about delivering some customers to their offices when they work at the office, of course? What about creating some pickup points because it's close to their sport clubs when they go after work to make a bit of sport leisure activities? So no, there is no my view is that as retailers we have to, whatever our sector is, to understand very specifically and precisely the needs of our customers, to address it, to address them as best as we can. For the moment, to be totally transparent with you, we are delivering only at home, or we are proposing some click and collect solutions, so the customer can go to our store to pick up the products. We have in mind also some kind of new solutions that we will be implementing in the future. It's concerning the professional customers, or what we call the meseriage, the guys who are installing you the products at home. Sometimes those guys, they have some big needs, and we put in place last year a telephonic platform for them to be able to be to receive the goods as quick as they can, and to save time, because those guys are running after the time. They have a lot of chantier and they are building a lot of house. And the idea is also to be able in the long term to deliver those guys, those professionals guys, on the chantier directly, instead of for them to go to the store and to lose time in the morning in the traffic jams, etc. So I think the philosophy is really this one, is that we try to cope with the needs of our customer. Many solutions are on the market. We are, as I said before, at the start of our transformation journey, and for sure we will be open in the future to customize much more the approach for the delivery. I think it's a global philosophy for all retailers. I mean, the retailers who can't adapt will be dead in a couple of years. I mean, it's clear. So if we realize and if we see that one day the people wants to be delivered at their office, we will do it. If it's a global trend that we observe, we will do it. We will adapt. I think this pandemic time was revealing a lot of things and lots of needs of adaptation for all of us. I think that the survivors will be the ones who will be able to adapt the most in the next years. It's not a jungle, but we need to adapt more and more.
Thank you very, very much, Frederic. This was a very interesting discussion. I would like to thank very much our viewers for participating, and of course thank my panel colleagues for tackling all these difficult questions. I really feel that everyone's attention right now is focused also on the e-commerce part of their business, except Pijus, of course, which is 100% focused on the e-commerce part of his business. And with strong positive attitudes like yours, I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of improvement in the e-commerce business and processes that are taking place in this business in the next years. Thank you very, very much for attending, and I wish you all a very pleasant day and productive end of a week.
Thank you, Andre.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and have a very good day to you all. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye.